Welcome to Senior Relationship After 60. Did you know that people over 60 consistently report some of the highest levels of relationship satisfaction compared to every other age group? That's right. Many seniors describe their love lives as more fulfilling, more genuine, and more meaningful than anything they experienced in their 20s, 30s, or even 40s. Why? Because love after 60 is different. It's deeper, wiser, and surprisingly liberating. But here's the twist most people never talk about. Along with joy comes a set of hidden challenges, secrets, and opportunities that might completely change the way you see love, sex, and companionship in your later years. Now, let me ask you something personal. Is it really too late to find true love at 60, 70, or even 80? Or could this actually be the best time of your life to open your heart? Many seniors quietly wonder if romance has an expiration date. But the truth is, relationships after 60 often break the rules society tries to place on them. Some discover passion for the very first time, while others learn how to build companionship in ways they never imagined possible. And here's where it gets interesting. New trends in senior dating, evolving health solutions, and shifting cultural attitudes are reshaping what it means to love at this stage of life. Before we dive in, I need you to do something small but powerful. Tap that like button. Not just because it helps this video, it actually amplifies the voices of seniors everywhere. Every single like tells YouTube, yes, this matters. Seniors' stories deserve to be heard. So if you've ever felt overlooked in conversations about love, intimacy, or connection, hitting like right now is your way of saying, we're here and our stories count. Stay tuned, because what we're about to uncover will challenge the stereotypes, spark memories, and maybe even inspire you to take a step you've been too hesitant to make. Love after 60 isn't about slowing down. It's about rediscovering what makes your heart race. Let me introduce you to Althea. At 68 years old, she's a retired school librarian from a small town in Florida. For decades, Althea lived surrounded by books, stories, and young curious minds. She dedicated her life to helping others discover knowledge, but when retirement came, her world suddenly became very quiet. Her days slowed down, and while she enjoyed her morning walks and her cups of tea at the porch, there was a silence that felt heavier with time. Like many seniors, Althea faced a truth few openly talk about. Retirement can bring both freedom and loneliness. Althea lost her husband years earlier, and though she had adult children living in different cities, she rarely wanted to bother them with her feelings. Friends from her working years had moved away or were caught up in their own families. Slowly, she found herself missing not just companionship, but the feeling of being truly seen and valued. She wasn't alone in this. Millions of seniors in America quietly feel the same, even when surrounded by family. That longing for connection, for someone to share laughter with, or simply to talk to over dinner, is what brings many to rethink what relationships after 60 can look like. But here's what makes Althea's story different, and why you'll want to follow her journey. She decided not to accept invisibility. She realized that the next chapter of her life didn't have to be defined by what she lost, but by what she still could create. It wasn't easy. At first, the thought of dating in her late 60s felt ridiculous. She worried, who would even want me at this age? What if I'm rejected? What if people laugh? Yet deep down, Althea knew the bigger risk was doing nothing and allowing loneliness to quietly steal her joy. Instead of shutting down, she started small. She joined a local senior walking group, signed up for an art class at the community center, and, after weeks of hesitation, made a profile on a senior-friendly dating site. It wasn't about rushing into romance, but about rediscovering who she was beyond her routines. These steps weren't just practical, they were acts of courage, proof that even after 60, you can reinvent yourself. Althea's journey shows something powerful. Seniors don't need to fade into the background. They have every right to crave love, intimacy, and companionship, just as much as anyone else. Her story will guide us through the truths of love and sex after 60, reminding us that vulnerability is not weakness. It's the gateway to rediscovering joy. Breaking the myth. Love doesn't expire. For years, Althea believed a myth that many seniors quietly carry. That love after 60 is finished, that romance belongs to younger people, and that her time for passion had simply passed. Society often reinforces this idea, subtly or directly, with the way relationships in later life are portrayed, or not portrayed at all. Movies, commercials, and even conversations tend to celebrate youth as if joy and attraction belong only to the young. It's no wonder so many seniors internalize the belief that love has an expiration date. But here's the truth. It doesn't. In fact, studies show that many people over 60 report the deepest emotional satisfaction in their relationships. Why? Because at this stage, love is no longer about competition or proving yourself. It's about authenticity, companionship, and freedom. Althea's turning point came one evening as she read a magazine article about senior dating. For the first time, she learned about communities built specifically for people her age. Platforms like SilverSingles, Stitch, and other senior-centered groups weren't just about swiping or casual encounters. They were designed to connect people with genuine companionship, whether friendship, romance, or even marriage. First, she laughed it off. Dating apps. At my age. But the more she thought about it, the more she realized these weren't tools just for the young. They were doors for people like her who wanted to find someone who understood their stage of life. And here's the emotional truth that gripped Althea. The end of one chapter doesn't mean the story of love is over. It means you have a blank page to write something entirely new. When she finally signed up, she didn't just meet potential partners. She met herself again. She remembered what it felt like to be desired, to be interesting, to share her quirks and stories with someone who actually wanted to listen. The butterflies might have felt different than they did at 25, but they were still there. This is the heart of breaking the myth. Love doesn't expire, it evolves. It shifts from the rush of youthful infatuation into the steady warmth of companionship, laughter, and shared understanding. And while it may take courage to seek it, the reward can be life-changing. So let me ask you directly. Have you or someone you know found love later in life? Share your story in the comments. Your voice might inspire someone else who still believes their chance at love has already slipped away. The new meaning of sex after 60. For a long time, Althea thought intimacy was something reserved for younger couples. In her mind, sex after 60 meant awkwardness, fading energy, and a quiet acceptance that those days were behind her. But what she discovered, and what many seniors across the United States are now learning, is that intimacy doesn't disappear with age. It simply takes on a new meaning, one that is richer, more human, and far less about perfection than it ever was in youth. Here's the surprising truth. Many seniors report that sex in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s is less about performance and more about presence. The pressure to prove yourself fades, and what remains is the joy of connection, playful laughter, tender moments, and the comfort of being fully accepted by someone who knows you, wrinkles and all. For Althea, this shift was liberating. She no longer worried about how she looked under bright lights, or whether she measured up to society's impossible standards. Instead, she focused on how she felt, relaxed, safe, and deeply connected. And here's what's exciting. The world of senior health has been changing rapidly, giving older adults more opportunities to reclaim intimacy. Safe medications for both men and women are more widely available than ever before. Pelvic health therapy, once a hidden topic, is now openly recommended by doctors to help with comfort and confidence. Conversations about hormones, from testosterone to estrogen, are finally breaking through the stigma, helping couples rekindle physical closeness without shame. These advances aren't about turning back the clock. They're about helping seniors embrace this stage of intimacy on their own terms. Althea remembers laughing one evening during a quiet dinner with a new partner. They joked about how long it took them to get up from their chairs, how their knees creaked louder than the floorboards, and how none of that mattered because they felt alive together. That laughter was intimacy, that honesty was passion, and that warmth, far beyond the physical, was what made her realize intimacy after 60 is not about chasing youth, but about discovering a deeper kind of joy. But wait, what most people miss is that the most important intimacy doesn't even happen in the bedroom. It begins in the way two people listen to each other, share secrets, and hold hands when the world feels overwhelming. And that's where Althea's story takes us next. Companionship beyond romance. For Althea, companionship was never just about romance. Yes, she longed for the spark of being desired again, but what surprised her most was how many different shapes connection could take once she allowed herself to open up. After years of feeling like life had slowed to a crawl, she discovered that friendship, laughter, and simple companionship could be just as powerful, and sometimes even more fulfilling than dating itself. When Althea joined a local community art class, she wasn't looking for love. She simply wanted to paint, to try something new. But what she found was a circle of women who became her chosen sisters, widows, divorcees, and even a couple of women happily single but craving connection. They started meeting for coffee after class, celebrating birthdays together, and sending each other daily messages just to check in. That network became her anchor, reminding her that companionship often blossoms in the most ordinary places. And companionship doesn't always come from peers. One of the most unexpected gifts for seniors today is intergenerational connection. Althea began volunteering at her library's children's reading program. The joy of helping a nervous 8-year-old sound out words gave her a new sense of purpose. Soon, she realized these moments were filling a gap in her life, giving her something exciting to anticipate each week. She also developed a warm friendship with her younger neighbor, a single mother in her 30s. They swapped recipes, shared gardening tips, and occasionally watched movies together. Though they were decades apart, their bond was genuine, and proof that companionship doesn't recognize age boundaries. This is the beauty of relationships after 60. They are not limited to romance. They can include friendships that feel like family, neighbors who turn into lifelong allies, and yes, grandchildren who bring boundless energy and laughter into every visit. For Althea, waking up each morning no longer meant facing an empty house. It meant wondering which friend she'd share a laugh with, which child's smile she'd brighten, or which small moment of kindness would surprise her that day. Here's the emotional truth. Companionship is the heartbeat of life after 60. Whether through friendship, volunteering, or intergenerational bonds, these connections are what keep the spirit alive. For Althea, companionship came in many forms. Not just dating, but deep friendships that gave her a reason to wake up smiling. And yet, as fulfilling as these bonds were, new challenges soon reminded her that this journey of rediscovering connection was far from simple. Challenges seniors face. Althea's journey into love and companionship after 60 wasn't without obstacles. In fact, the path forward often felt like walking through a maze with invisible walls. These are the same barriers many seniors across the U.S. quietly battle every day, and understanding them is key to appreciating just how much courage it takes to pursue connection later in life. One of the most pressing challenges is loneliness. According to the CDC, nearly 1 in 4 adults over 65 in America report feeling socially isolated, and the health effects can be as damaging as smoking or obesity. For Althea, the silence in her home after retirement felt louder than any noise she'd experienced during her working years. Loneliness isn't just about missing someone. It's about missing daily conversation, laughter, and touch. Over time, it can chip away at mental health, confidence, and even physical well-being. Then there's the stigma. Society often sends seniors an unspoken message. You've had your chance at love. Leave romance to the younger ones. Older adults who seek relationships are sometimes judged, even by their own families. Althea felt this sting when a neighbor jokingly asked, "Why are you still trying to date at your age?" Remarks like this may seem light-hearted, but they reveal a deeper cultural bias. That passion has an expiration date. Overcoming this stigma requires resilience and a willingness to proudly claim that love and intimacy are not bound by age. But stigma isn't the only barrier. Finances and family dynamics also complicate senior relationships. Althea's friend Marian, also widowed, confided in her that she hesitated to remarry because she worried about inheritance disputes with her adult children. Others fear that their kids won't approve of them dating at all, as if their happiness must always come second. These financial and emotional tensions create real obstacles for seniors who are simply trying to build a joyful second act. And yet, despite these hurdles, Althea found ways to push forward. She discovered that honest communication with her children reduced misunderstandings, and surrounding herself with friends who supported her choices gave her strength. The lesson here is clear. While challenges are real, they don't have to define the story. Now I want to hear from you. What's the biggest challenge you think seniors face in relationships? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective might help someone else feel less alone in their struggle. Althea never expected that a simple coffee date could change the rhythm of her entire life. For weeks, she debated whether or not to meet a man she had been chatting with on a senior-friendly platform. His name was Walter, a retired music teacher with a warm laugh that carried even through typed words on a screen. At first, her nerves almost got the better of her. She looked in the mirror before leaving her house and whispered, "What am I even doing? This is ridiculous." But something inside her reminded her that she deserved joy, and so she went. The cafe was small, with the smell of cinnamon pastries drifting through the air. Althea arrived early, sitting by the window, her heart pounding in a way she hadn't felt since her 20s. When Walter walked in, he carried a book of crossword puzzles under his arm, and instead of the stiff awkwardness she feared, they both burst into laughter almost immediately. He spilled a little cream on the table, she teased him about it, and suddenly the weight she had carried for years, the doubt, the fear, the loneliness, seemed to lift. That single meeting wasn't about finding the one. It was about rediscovering herself. She realized she could still charm someone, still spark laughter, and still feel the electricity of being seen. The conversation drifted from music to family to silly jokes about how neither of them could work their smartphones properly. By the time they parted ways, Althea's cheeks ached from smiling. But the transformation didn't happen in one afternoon. It grew with each choice she made. Every time she said yes to trying something new, every time she allowed herself to be vulnerable, her confidence returned piece by piece. She started dressing in brighter colors again, picking up hobbies she had abandoned, and walking with a little more energy in her step. Even her children noticed the glow in her voice when she called. For Althea, the emotional transformation wasn't about finding a man to complete her. It was about realizing she was already whole, and that love at this stage of life was about sharing her wholeness, not filling a gap. That shift in perspective gave her freedom. Love was no longer a desperate search. It became a joyful exploration. And here's the biggest truth that shocks most people after 60. The deepest transformations aren't about discovering someone new. They're about rediscovering yourself. The greatest revelation Althea uncovered was this: relationships after 60 are not about starting over. They are about starting fresh, armed with the wisdom of decades lived, the clarity of knowing who you are, and the freedom to choose love on your own terms. Unlike the anxious years of youth, where relationships were often shaped by expectations, careers, and raising children, love after 60 has no script you're required to follow. There is no ticking clock, no need to impress, no pressure to fit into society's picture of the perfect couple. Instead, it becomes about presence, about savoring the moments that matter right now. Althea realized that she didn't need a fairy tale ending to feel fulfilled. She needed connection. She needed laughter over coffee, someone to walk beside her on breezy afternoons, someone who could sit quietly through a movie and still make her feel less alone. For her, love at this stage wasn't about forever. It was about today, and about making today beautiful. That small but powerful shift transformed the way she approached relationships. This truth isn't just Althea's. It belongs to every senior who dares to embrace life after 60. It's the freedom to let go of old hurts, to set down the baggage of failed marriages or past losses, and to step into relationships with a lighter heart. It's also the wisdom to know what really matters: kindness over perfection, laughter over grand gestures, companionship over empty promises. When you've lived long enough, you realize that joy is found in small things. A hand squeezed at the right time, an inside joke only the two of you understand, a steady presence on difficult days. And here's what makes this truth so powerful. It breaks the cultural myth that seniors must either cling to the past or fade quietly into solitude. In reality, later life offers an entirely new horizon. You are free to choose relationships that align with your values, free from the expectations that once held you back. For Althea, that meant saying yes to opportunities without fear of being judged, and discovering that vulnerability in her 60s wasn't weakness. It was her greatest strength. So if you've ever felt that your time for love has passed, remember this. It hasn't. Love is not a race you missed. It is a door you can open at any stage, with the wisdom you've earned and the freedom you now deserve. After 60, love doesn't shrink. It expands into something more genuine, more lasting, and more beautifully human than ever before. If this story of Althea stirred something in your heart, don't just quietly nod and move on. Let's make some noise together. Tap that like button right now, because every single like tells YouTube, seniors matter. Their voices deserve to be heard. And when seniors' voices rise to the top, more people over 60 will discover that they are not alone in their journey. Don't stop there. Share this video with a friend, a sibling, or even a neighbor who might need the reminder that love, companionship, and joy don't come with an expiration date. And of course, subscribe, because here on Senior Relationship After 60, we are building a community where wisdom and love are celebrated, not hidden away. Picture this. Althea, once sitting alone at her kitchen table wondering if her best days were behind her, now walking hand in hand with her new partner along a sunlit boardwalk in Florida. The breeze catches her silver hair. She laughs at something simple, and for the first time in years she feels seen. That image isn't just hers. It can be yours too, or someone you love. Because here's the truth. Life after 60 doesn't slow down. It simply shifts gears. The goals may change, the rhythm may feel different, but the essence of what fuels us, connection, joy, and love, remains the same. Love isn't something that belongs only to the young. It belongs to the living. And if you're watching this, then you're still alive, still capable, and still worthy of the beauty that comes with human connection. Think about it. You've already lived through decades of lessons, challenges, and growth. That wisdom is your strength now. Every heartbreak, every joy, every loss has prepared you for the richness of love today. And what makes love after 60 so special is that it's chosen freely, without pressure, without timelines, without the expectations of youth. It's about saying, I choose you not because I need you, but because I want to share my today with you. So here's my final thought for you. Whether it's rekindling intimacy with a long-term partner, opening your heart to someone new, or simply finding companionship in friendships that warm your soul, don't hold back. This chapter of life is not a closing act. It's an encore. If Althea could discover joy after believing her story was over, so can you. And if you believe that love and connection truly have no age limit, then prove it. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video. Because the more we remind the world that love has no expiration date, the brighter our community will shine. Now tell me in the comments, what does love mean to you after 60? Your words might be the inspiration another senior is waiting to hear.